Hey folks, Biola here. So I'm gonna get us started, and hopefully more folks will join. So yeah, my name is Biola. I am the national organizer with Resist here, and welcome to Disobedient Drop. Appreciate you taking the time out to hop on the call. So yeah, I'm going to go through a brief overview of what we're going to go over, and this is if you have your screen open, you should be shared on the presentation. So on this, what we're going to go over is sort of like what the moment that we are organizing in is. What is it that we're up against, why we think civil disobedience is so important, our theory of change, the different levels of engagement you can take, and then why we believe in nonviolence, and then I'll take some questions. So I will start. So the moment that we're in, we're here because we've been inspired by the sit-ins that have been happening across the country, and also the consistent effectiveness of nonviolent civil disobedience. And you can see this is a picture from the folks who were protesting Rob Portman's office to call for a no vote on the healthcare bill. So we're really in a time now where now more than ever, we need to really affirm the world we want to see, which is, why we're all here on this call. And so, what are we up against? So yeah, President Trump and his cabinet are not here for the public good. We've seen this through his move to place bans on who can come into the country, the fact that he fills government leadership based on whether or not people will blindly listen to him or if they're related to him, has a foreign policy that is just bringing us closer and closer to war or continuing wars in multiple parts of the world, is also clearly very racist, and is also pretending like the largest threat to the human race, being climate change, just doesn't exist. In addition to rolling back rights for LGBTQ people and just consistently showing that he doesn't have any respect for women. And I can go on, but it's very clear that we have someone in office who is not really committed to the well-being of everyone. Everyone he is sort of was supposedly sworn to serve. So it's again why it's very important that we're all here and that we're all interested in doing something about this and really helping build the world that we want to see. So the disobedient drop. The disobedient drop, the goal is to send an impactful message to representatives that Trump's agenda means real people will lose access to life-saving medication, housing, and a lot of other services. And there are people willing to put their bodies on the line to defend our lives. And as Americans, regular, decent human beings, we know that voting for Trump's agenda means voting to harm people in our communities, our neighbors, families, loved ones, and friends, and we don't want to stand by and let them do so. So why is civil disobedience so important? It's important because it works. All throughout history, we've seen how the tactic of nonviolent civil disobedience has made a change in our social conditions. And not only does it help our movements progress and escalate, Nonviolent civil disobedience can be really transformative for the communities involved and affected. One example, one historical example, is the AIDS Coalition to Unleash Power, or ACT UP, which is an international direct action group that rose up in response to the lack of action around the AIDS epidemic in the 1980s and 1990s. So one example of an action they did, on September of 1989, 7 members infiltrated the New York Stock Exchange and chained themselves to the balcony to protest the high price of the only approved AIDS drug at the time, which was called AZT. They displayed a banner that read, "Sell Welcome," to refer to the pharmaceutical sponsor of AZT, which was Burroughs Wellcome. And why they did that was because the company had set the price for this life-saving, life-extending drug to about $10,000 per patient per year for the drug, which was outreach for a lot of people who were HIV positive, which kind of echoes the moment we're in now, where people are sitting in their legislator's office over health care costs. It's sad that it's, well over 2 to 3 decades later, and we're kind of in a similar place. But what was inspiring was that several days following that demonstration, the company lowered the price, again, showing how by escalating and doing direct actions, we can really put pressure and make progress. Another person in history who was a war tax resistor was Henry David Thoreau. And, he has this great quote, "If the machine of government is of such a nature that it requires you to be an agent of injustice to another, then I say, break the law." Another example was the fight for women's suffrage. The women's suffrage movement also used direct action as a tactic, in addition to the labor movement. We had the boycott of lettuce and grapes with the United Food Workers that also ended up with a substantial win. And here's another quote this one's by historian Howard Zinn. "As soon as you say the topic is civil disobedience, you're saying our problem is civil disobedience. That is not our problem. Our problem is civil obedience." And I think what he's getting at there is that, it's not the fact that people are rising up, it's the fact that too many of us are sitting down. So again, it's really amazing and wonderful that y'all are here to sort of learn more about how you can get involved. So the idea behind the disruption drop is fairly simple. Find an issue that you're passionate about and come together with the people in your community and go to your legislator's events or his or her office and sit in for as long as it takes for your demand to be heard. And there are different ways to engage. People can help by being directly at the event, by either risking arrest or not, or you can help remotely. Some people just are calling the legislator's office while people are sitting in, making noise on social media, or providing more material support by donating to the cause. And what's important about this, kind of going back to what I was saying about transforming communities, is that when someone decides to face arrest, the decision has the effect of mobilizing the communities of people closest to them. So not only is civil disobedience something that helps us move forward, helps us shift power, can be transformative to us, but also can help transform our communities. And a good example of that is the in 1960 with the sit-ins in Nashville. The local Black community began to unite behind the students. So these were the students who were sitting in at lunch counters across Nashville. Black merchants supplied food to those in jail. Homeowners put up property for bail money. Parents worried that arrest records could hurt their children's future, and they feared for the safety of their children. They turned to the power of their own pocketbook, launching an economic boycott in support of the sit-in. So it again goes to show that it's not everyone is going to be someone who can risk arrest. A lot of people have different reasons why they can or cannot, but that does not exclude anyone from the movement. So that's why there are different levels of engagement. You could sit in and risk arrest. You could attend but not risk arrest. You can support remotely, and you could also provide legal support. And planning a sit-in can be very simple. All you need to do is connect with your team, agree on the action roles, go over and practice the action scenario a few times, and then execute. So why nonviolence? Nonviolent discipline is what gives our movements the moral high ground and therefore makes our actions compelling to the public and makes people want to get involved and be a part of it. Breaks in this discipline fundamentally undermine our movement and our mission. So it's absolutely critical that you maintain nonviolent discipline, and that means no use of violence or threat of violence by word or action towards anyone that you encounter. So how this looks like during a sit-in is when police or security arrive and give warning. If you're unwilling to risk arrest, this is when you leave. But if you are willing to risk arrest and commit civil disobedience, this is when you would remain seated. And then once you're placed under arrest, you should fully cooperate with all law enforcement directives and commands. And then and one of the roles that you're going to have in your team is jail support. And those will be the folks who will track your progress while you're in custody, and then they'll meet you upon release. So this is super important. Do not proactively make physical contact with any police officer. Any quote-unquote unwanted touching can technically be considered assault on an officer. Not just as enough, just do not touch, do not make any movements, just don't touch the cops. Super, super important because you do not want an assaulting an officer charge. So that's kind of the general overview of the disobedient drop. So the next steps to this, so this is more of an introductory sort of the idea of the disobedience drop, what civil disobediences look like, just to make you familiar. We're going to do an online training next Tuesday that goes further into sort of the nuts and bolts and what you would need to do to put this together. But I wanted to sort of, and how this is going to work is you can dial with your keypad. Press like 1 if you have any questions. But yeah, no, this is I'm going to just like pause if anyone has any questions, and then I can unmute you. Cool. So I'm going to Daniel. You should be unmuted. Hello? Daniel, you are unmuted. You can ask your question. Okay. Cool. I'm going to move then to Peg.
Yes, that's me.
Peg.
Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes.
Hi. I have a very simple question. You said next Tuesday, and I want to know the exact date for your online training.
Okay. I'm just pulling up my calendar so I make sure I have the right date. Next Tuesday is the 18th. And I'll be at the same time.
Will you have a backup since I will be out of town?
Yeah, I think so. It'll be recorded, so we can just send that.
Great. Great. That answers my question. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. Cool. And then we have. So, is there any more questions? Daniel, I unmuted you. Did you still have a question? Okay, I got okay. So I have one from Desiree. He's about creating an event, when and where. So no, right now it's the idea is that you would organize in your community for your legislator yourself, and we could provide we're with the training next week training, just like support, stuff like that, and helping you sort of like build leadership in your community. Okay, I'm going to have Brad, you're live.
Oh, hi. So unfortunately, I had a bunch of technical difficulties, and I'm just getting in now, and I gather that we're wrapping up. So I'm just wondering if there's an archive of tonight's training available.
Yeah, there's going to be a recording sent out once we get it together and edited.
Okay, great. Thank you. I really apologize for that.
Oh, no worries.
All right. Thank you.
Cool. So yeah, if you have a question, just feel free to hit 1 on your pad on your phone. Dylan, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask for people that are in states that thankfully have 2 Democratic or outspoken legislators. Does this action still hold? Should we still be planning sit-ins with our Democratic senators?
Sorry, could you say that again?
Sure. So I mean, in states where there are left-leaning states, like I'm in New York. Does this hold, or like, what are some of the good ways that that folks in left-leaning states with left-leaning legislators can be supporting?
That's a great question. Yeah, so I guess if someone's has a legislator that's already going to vote no on something, I think I think it always helps. You can help support and amplify the work that other folks are doing. I think that's one good way. And then just helping raise still just raising awareness about what's happening nationally. Yeah, I would say that is one good way. And then yeah. Was that helpful?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so now Douglas.
Okay. Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you. I'm calling from New Jersey, and one thing that it's not clear to me who you guys are. I've done the daily call. I've done as much as I could, trying to get my voice out there. I've done the resist bot, the sending in texts, which I think are brilliant, and working families. And I'm not sure what group I'm working with now, where you guys or who you're working with. What has been nice for me is to see how many groups are working together. So just curious about that.
Sure. So this is kind of a project of working families organization. So that's kind of how. Yeah, it's almost like the disobedient drop is kind of like another like leg of like resistance work. Does that make sense?
It does. I Working Families is a group I know, and I went to a demonstration around the tax issue, and it just helps me feel, I guess, maybe more comfortable about. I'm not, I wasn't sure who I'm involved with right now, and that matters, because, for example, you mentioned ACT UP. I happen to be gay, and in the 1990s, I knew they did a lot of great work that I couldn't do, but they also did some things that I really disagreed with, where they crossed some lines. So the group itself makes a difference, as you said. If we're doing civil disobedience, we have to be really, go along with the code, and so it matters to me who we all are, and I feel like that's part of my trust and part of my choice.
I totally hear that. It looks like there are no more questions. In terms of next steps, we're going to send out info on the next call, on the actual more fuller training on how to do your own disobedient drop. So be on the lookout for that, and hopefully y'all can all make that. If not, there will definitely be a recording, and we can get that to you as well. So yeah, if there are any more questions, I think we are actually pretty good to wrap up. Yeah. Thank you all for spending your evening, and I will hopefully talk to y'all on Tuesday.